Hey, good morning. My name is Kevin Gilmore with the National Weather Service New Orleans Baton Rouge office located in Salado, Louisiana. This is your weekly weather briefing for Sunday, June 18th. Before we get into the forecast first, let's actually discuss what occurred yesterday as we did have some isolated severe weather across portions of southeast Louisiana and southern Mississippi. This is a radar loop of southeast Louisiana showing you where the radar, what the radar showed through the afternoon and evening hours. We'll let it loop back so I can show you again where it started. We had two severe thunderstorms that delivered large hail and damaging wind gusts. One that came out of southwest Mississippi, impacting Wilkinson County down to St. Francisville and Baton Rouge, delivered golf ball to ping pong ball sized hail. The other one impacted Jackson County, where we also had up to golf ball sized hail reports. Both were very dangerous across those local areas, but as I mentioned, these were relatively isolated. These were only in these two areas, with most areas in between were high and dry, which we know some areas could need the rain, but we don't want it too much in the form of hail and high winds like we saw yesterday. So definitely had a very much an impactful day for some areas. And now let's kind of dive in a little bit more into the local storm reports that we had. This kind of gives you a little bit of a perspective, seeing the track of hail going through Wilkinson County down to Baton Rouge. Also, the other hail report that came out of Jackson County was also around golf ball size. So like I just mentioned, relatively isolated, but was definitely a significant impact for those areas. So let's have a little bit of fun. Let's actually dive into the meteorology behind what's going on now to show you that it's actually not as easy as you think, as we're relatively in a very complicated weather pattern. We're going to start with a weather map that us meteorologists like to use a lot. This is the 500 millibar wind pattern. Basically the middle portion of the troposphere at which the layer of all, pretty much most weather occurs in the atmosphere. So we're looking right at the middle part of it to show you where the winds are going and what the radar looks like stacked on top of it. That's what you're seeing right here. This is actually the radar imagery early this morning, showing you some impactful thunderstorms across Arkansas and northern Louisiana. So what's actually going on? We have a ridge of high pressure over northern Mexico, and the winds are rotating around that anticyclonically or clockwise. And then we have a trough of low pressure in the central United States, and both of these have been promoting high winds in the mid-levels, generally from the west to the east direction. So these are higher winds than what we're typically used to seeing around this portion of the United States this time of the year. So we have strong westerly flow, several disturbances along this flow, also very much quickly rotating around this high pressure and low pressure, pushing very quickly towards the east. And then we also have a lot of cold air aloft as well. We're talking about temperatures a lot colder than we're typically used to seeing this time of year, which has been one of the reasons we've been seeing large hail out of these thunderstorms. So what are we seeing right now is, like I said, we got those thunderstorms over Arkansas, but we're going to have to watch a little bit further back, what we like to say upstream of this convection, where we're seeing some thunderstorms developing over southern Oklahoma and northern Texas. These are already occurring early this morning, and we're going to have to watch how these are going to impact our local area a little bit later. If these can maybe dive a little bit further towards the south and impact southern and central Mississippi, or these may continue off just due east and impact northern Mississippi. Either way, we're on the southern fringe of this type of activity that we've been seeing, more influenced by the ridge, which has kept most of the severe weather towards the north and towards our east, where unfortunately there's been a lot of multiple days of severe weather for Mississippi and Alabama. Unfortunate for them, it's been very impactful, but now we're starting to get some of this activity poke into our area like we saw yesterday. So another factor that we also been looking at as well is we have plenty of instability, which is essentially just the energy for thunderstorms. And this is a complicated map, but it's basically showing you the levels of instability. Usually we see what's called around 2,000 to 3,000 joules of CAPE, convective available potential energy, which is a measure for the energy of thunderstorms. We're way above that. So we have plenty of instability out there, a lot of fuel for strong to severe thunderstorms. So even if this complex doesn't impact us later today, we may likely see the redevelopment of more scattered strong to severe thunderstorms like we saw yesterday around the same areas, basically from the corridor from northern Louisiana down to pretty much into southeast Louisiana, including southern Mississippi as well. So we're going to have to watch these as the atmospheric conditions are very prime for the potential of large hail and damaging wind gusts. So because of that, this is what the Storm Prediction Center has for us, is an enhanced risk of severe weather, or we call it a level 3 out of 5, for northern portions of southeast Louisiana, and of course across southern Mississippi as well. Slight risk around that, but you see that the risk really shuts off as you get further down towards like Homa. That's because, like I mentioned before, that's where the influence of the ridge is. It's just hot and dry there, so there's going to be some areas that may unfortunately witness some strong to severe thunderstorms today, but some might not. So if you're expecting a widespread heavy rain event, this is not it. But if you do get a thunderstorm today, it does have the potential to be containing damaging winds and large hail. So also, we don't want to ignore the fact that we do have an excessive heat warning in effect again today on Sunday, primarily from 11 a.m. through 7 p.m. This is due to dangerous heat indices around 108 to 115, and this is what we're talking about. This is some of the forecast heat indices for later today of around some areas possibly getting 110, 115 or higher. So this is definitely a very dangerous situation. You do not want to be spending a lot of time outside of this type of activity. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about like how to play it smart with this heat. Be smart, stay cool, find air conditioning. Don't be outdoors for a long duration. Take frequent breaks. Get into some air conditioning. If you have to stay outside, take a break into some shade. Drink plenty of water. Also, please, that bottom point there is really important, is never leave people or pets in the car. On average, around 38 children under the age of 15 die of heat stroke every year by being left in a car. So it is definitely not anything we want to deal with this type of heat, as it only takes a very short amount of time for it to become life-threatening in a car with this type of heat going on here. So definitely something to be aware of. Do not spend a lot of times outdoor, and if you are, again, wear sunscreen as well and take frequent breaks. So how's the week looking ahead? We're going to actually look at New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Macomb here for the next 6 days, starting with Sunday, going through all the way the rest of the week. Is this heat going to continue? What about the showers and storms? Are they going to increase? Well, starting with Sunday and Monday, we see that the heat is pretty much still cranking across New Orleans and Baton Rouge, and even up to Macomb, where there's heat advisories into effect. But however, we start to come down a little bit from it as we get towards midweek, maybe around that Tuesday to Wednesday time frame. The heat does go down a little bit. However, worthy of mentioning is that the showers and storm chances will be increasing Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and we may be dealing with some more severe weather across the area. It'll be another case where it won't be a widespread heavy rain event, but we may actually have to deal with more severe weather before all said and done. We get back into what looks to be more towards like a regular summertime pattern late week of just really much routine heat. Heat indices still around 100 degrees, but nothing as excessive as what we've been seeing, with hit or miss daily afternoon shower and storm chances going all the way into the upcoming weekend. So as we take a quick peek at the tropics there, this is from the National Hurricane Center. We are monitoring one tropical disturbance in the central Atlantic. This system is not expected to impact the United States over the next 5 to 7 days. If it does become a storm, it will be named Brett, next name on the list. So that pretty much ends this briefing. I hope you have a great week ahead and take care.